Elias had always believed that life rewarded those who moved with discipline, the ones who woke before dawn, kept their promises, and built their dreams with careful hands. In a quiet town tucked between soft hills and slow rivers, he lived by a rhythm that rarely changed. His mornings began with the sound of a kettle warming. His evenings ended with the soft scratch of pencil on paper as he mapped the next day's tasks. Everything had a place. Everything had a reason. And in his heart, he believed that order could protect him from pain. People admired him. He was the kind of man who showed up on time, who finished what he started, who made others believe that he somehow knew what he was doing. But beneath the neat lines of his routines lived a subtle ache, a longing he never admitted even to himself, a quiet wish that life might one day feel lighter, freer, more alive. Yet Elias feared change. He feared the unknown more than failure itself. His dreams were folded neatly in journals, sketched with precision but never daring to breathe. He wanted growth, but only if growth obeyed his rules. He wanted purpose, but only if purpose arrived without asking him to let go. On the outside, he looked strong, motivated, disciplined, dependable. On the inside, he carried a tension he didn't know how to name, a tension between who he was and who he secretly hoped to become. But life has a way of testing the beliefs we cling to most tightly, and for Elias, the first whisper of change was already moving toward him, soft, almost invisible, like a breeze that rearranges leaves before anyone notices. His story was about to shift, and he had no idea how much he would have to lose before he learned to truly grow. In the months that followed, Elias began to feel something he hadn't felt in years: momentum. It started quietly, almost shyly, like sunlight slipping through a window that had long been closed. He launched a small workshop in town, a project he'd been planning for years but never dared to begin. At first, only a handful of people showed up, but those few left inspired, spreading soft-spoken praise through cafes, markets, and evening walks. Slowly, his name carried a little warmth when spoken. Elias helped me fix that. Elias taught me something new. Elias listens. These were small victories, but to him, they felt like tides turning. His discipline, once rigid, now became fuel. He spent late evenings polishing plans and early mornings refining them. The town began to trust him, not because he was flawless, but because he showed up with sincerity. Every success felt like a gentle affirmation that his careful ways were finally paying off. Inside him grew a quiet pride, one he didn't announce but carried like a hidden ember. It made his steps lighter, his voice steadier. For the first time, he felt close to something meaningful, a purpose that seemed within reach, a journey that made sense. Yet, between these rising moments, a subtle shadow lingered. When someone suggested trying a new method, Elias felt a twitch of resistance. When a volunteer offered a fresh idea, he dismissed it gently but quickly, preferring to stick to what had worked before. The possibility of losing control unsettled him more than he admitted. And success, while sweet, fed a seed of fear. What if things changed again? What if he couldn't manage it? What if he lost everything he was building? But for now, the rise was bright. The town admired him. His confidence grew. And the future, from where he stood, looked beautifully predictable. He didn't know that the same success he cherished would soon become the weight that pulled him into the deepest fall of his life. It happened quietly at first. The kind of shift you don't notice until it sweeps everything off the table. Elias's workshop had been growing, attracting more people, more ideas, more expectations. And with growth came pressure. Not the kind that motivated him, but the kind that squeezed the breath out of his discipline and turned his routines into burdens. One morning, a major project he had promised the town, a community innovation fair, began to unravel. A supplier backed out. A team member quit without warning. A crucial design flaw was discovered just days before the event. And in the midst of the chaos, Elias felt something crack inside him. He had built everything with such care, held every detail with such precision. But the more he tried to tighten his grip, the faster things slipped through his fingers. Rumors began circulating, soft at first, then louder. Maybe he took on too much. Maybe he isn't as capable as we thought. Maybe Elias just got lucky. The fair was postponed. The disappointment was public and heavy. People didn't look at him with admiration anymore. They looked with quiet doubt, the way one watches a candle flicker, waiting to see if it will die out. Financial strain followed, workshops dried up, partners pulled away, and Elias, who once walked the streets with calm confidence, now avoided familiar routes, fearing the weight of unspoken judgment. But the deepest wound wasn't the failure itself, it was the shame. The feeling that he had betrayed the version of himself he trusted most. Discipline, motivation, strength, all the qualities he had built his identity on, suddenly felt useless. At night, he lay awake staring at the ceiling, rehearsing every mistake, every crack in his decisions. His mind became a battlefield where every memory fought to prove he wasn't enough. The fall didn't feel like a single moment. It felt like drowning in slow motion, watching the surface of the water drift farther away each day, knowing he no longer had the strength to swim back. His world had broken, and he didn't yet know that holding on would break him even more. Elias couldn't accept what had happened. Not the failure, not the disappointment, not the silence that now filled the spaces where praise once lived. Every morning, he forced himself out of bed with the same rigid discipline as before, gripping his routines like ropes that might pull him back to safety. He believed desperately that if he just worked harder, thought sharper, pushed stronger, he could undo the damage. He reopened old notebooks, rewriting plans that no longer mattered. He paced through the workshop, even though no one came. He drafted emails he never sent, convinced that one more revision, one more perfect sentence would turn things around. But denial has a way of disguising itself as determination. Elias told himself he was being strong. In truth, he was refusing to let go. Every mistake replayed in his mind like a broken film reel. Every criticism echoed louder than the next. He blamed himself for the team member who left. He blamed himself for the supplier's failure. He blamed himself for trusting others at all. His world shrank into a tight circle of guilt, resentment, and fear, a loop he couldn't break. Nights became the hardest. He sat alone at his desk, the lamp flickering over unfinished sketches. Sometimes he whispered to himself, "Just one more try," as if trying again would erase the past, as if denial could rebuild what had already fallen apart. Friends reached out, offering gentle words or invitations for coffee, but he ignored them. Not because he didn't care, but because facing them meant facing the truth. And truth felt too heavy to hold. He clung to the version of himself that had once been admired, refusing to mourn the one he had lost. The town moved on, but Elias stayed frozen, trapped in the echo of who he used to be. Denial didn't just slow his healing, it sealed his pain, making it harder for anything new to enter. He didn't know it yet, but his breaking point was near. And sometimes the heart has to crack open before light can find its way in. One afternoon, when the weight of his own thoughts felt unbearable, Elias wandered to the edge of town, a quiet place where an old public garden grew wild with age. He hadn't been there in years. The paths were overgrown, the benches weathered, the air thick with the earthy scent of soil and fallen leaves. It was peaceful in a way he had forgotten existed. Near a patch of wilted roses stood an elderly gardener, a thin man with silver hair, soft eyes, and hands stained with earth. He moved slowly, trimming dry branches with the patience of someone who understood time in a way younger hearts rarely do. Elias paused, watching him work. "You're cutting the dead parts," Elias said, quietly, almost to himself. The old man smiled without looking up. "Not dead, just parts that have finished their job." Elias didn't understand, but something in the man's tone made him sit on a nearby bench. The gardener continued snipping, gently placing each fallen stem into a basket. Plants grow, and sometimes they grow in directions that exhaust them. When they break, they don't lose their purpose. They simply need space to breathe again. Elias felt the words land somewhere deep, a place he had kept locked. "But what if you ruin something?" Elias asked, his voice trembling. "What if your mistakes hurt others? What if you lose everything you built?" The gardener finally looked at him, eyes calm and steady. "Then you begin again, not as punishment, but as renewal." Elias swallowed hard. Renewal. The word felt foreign, almost impossible. The man pointed to a small plant nearby, once broken, now growing new shoots. Strength isn't holding on. Strength is knowing when to release what can no longer grow. For the first time in months, Elias didn't feel judged. He felt seen, gently, compassionately, honestly. And in that quiet garden, truth entered him like a soft breeze. To heal, he would have to stop gripping the past. To change, he would have to let go. The next morning, Elias woke earlier than usual, not out of discipline, but out of a strange, unfamiliar lightness. It wasn't joy. It wasn't relief. It was something quieter, like the first breath after a long cry. He remembered the gardener's words echoing gently through his mind. Strength isn't holding on. Strength is knowing when to release what can no longer grow. So, for the first time in months, Elias didn't reach for his old notebooks. He didn't force himself into the routines that had become chains. Instead, he stepped outside and simply walked. No destination, no plan, just movement. The town looked different when he wasn't hiding from it. People still remembered him, of course, but their gazes were softer than he expected. Curious, not critical. A shopkeeper waved, a child ran past laughing. Life had kept moving on, and somehow that realization brought him peace. He started taking small steps toward healing. He cleaned his workshop slowly, not with obsession, but with intention. He cleared shelves, packed old plans away, and allowed space for new ones to exist someday, but not today. Today was about breathing again. He also began visiting the garden regularly. The old gardener never asked for explanations. Instead, they worked side by side in silence. Elias trimmed branches, watered flowers, and learned the quiet rhythm of restoration. The simple act of tending to something outside himself softened the tightness in his chest. At night, he wrote again, not plans, but reflections, lines filled with honesty instead of pressure. He wrote about fear, mistakes, courage, and the delicate art of letting go. His words didn't aim for perfection, they aimed for truth. Little by little, Elias rebuilt himself from the inside out. There were days he stumbled, days he felt the old guilt return, but now he knew it was part of the journey. Healing wasn't supposed to be dramatic. It was slow, humble transformation. Rebirth doesn't announce itself. It begins quietly, like a whisper, reminding you that you are still here and you can still grow. Weeks turned into months, and without realizing it, Elias had begun to move differently through the world. There was no sudden breakthrough, no dramatic moment of victory, just a gentle unfolding, like morning light stretching across the horizon. The heaviness that once lived inside him had softened, replaced by a steadier kind of strength. He returned to his workshop, not to prove anything, but to rediscover what he loved about creating. The silence that once felt suffocating now felt peaceful, a space where new ideas could breathe. He started small, repairing a neighbor's broken shelf, helping a student refine a simple design, guiding a teenager who wanted to learn the basics of craftsmanship. People noticed the change before he did. They said he seemed calmer, more present, less guarded. There was a warmth in his voice now, a slight smile that appeared even when he wasn't trying. The town, which had once watched him fall, now saw a version of Elias who seemed reborn, not from success, but from humility, acceptance, and inner peace. He no longer chased perfection. He chased meaning. He no longer chased admiration. He chased honesty. And slowly, his life began to rebuild itself, naturally, gently, without force. When someone suggested hosting a new workshop, Elias didn't decline out of fear or agree out of pride. He paused, breathed, and listened to his heart. Then, he said yes, not because he needed to prove his worth, but because he genuinely wanted to share what he knew. The event wasn't grand, but it was sincere. People gathered not for a spectacle, but for connection. And as Elias spoke, he realized something profound. The fall had not destroyed him, it had revealed him. He had become someone wiser, a man who understood that strength is quiet, courage is patient, And discipline is softer when shaped by kindness. A new dawn had arrived. Not loud, not bright, but steady, a light he carried within him. And so, Elias's journey, with its rises, its falls, its painful pauses and quiet rebirth, came to rest in a place he never expected. Peace. Not the peace of a perfect life, but the peace of a steady heart. A peace earned through courage, humility, and the gentle art of letting go. His story is not just his own. In some way, it is yours too, because every person at some point must face the whisper of change. And when you do, remember the truths hidden in his path. 1. Not everything that breaks is a failure. Some things break because they are ready to grow differently. 2. Discipline is powerful, but discipline without gentleness becomes a cage. 3. Letting go is not weakness, it is choosing peace over control. 4. Failure is not a verdict, it is a classroom. 5. Healing begins the moment you stop running from yourself. 6. Courage is often quiet, a small step, a soft breath, a simple choice. 7. Purpose is not found in perfection, it is found in presence. And 8. Transformation is not loud, it begins with one honest moment. If you are somewhere between the fall and the rise, if you are holding on too tightly, if you feel lost in the space between who you were and who you hope to become, know this: your story isn't over. You are still growing, still unfolding, still discovering the strength that has lived inside you all along. Let this story be a gentle reminder, a whisper of change echoing in your own heart. If it touched you, share it with someone who might need a little light today. Like, subscribe, and stay for more stories, more reminders that you are never alone on this journey.